going to be talking about things for the system for agents like we always do. And today we've got Jeremiah. Make sure I say your name right, Jeremiah, because I probably mess it up. I know I got the first one right, Jeremiah, but is it Desmarais?
Yeah, real close. It's Demarais. It's those weird French. They throw S's where you're not supposed to say
There
them.
you go, Demarais. There you go. That's why I just use one word, Liam. I don't worry about it. Just one name. What we're going to do today, Jeremiah, and you know what's funny is I had Mike Driggers on a couple weeks back, and his intro was 6 minutes. He brought his own intro. I said 6 minutes. What you know, we didn't have to do the show. We just watched his intro. But I say that because your bio is pretty impressive, and I'm going to touch on some things with what you've done. And if I miss something, you're more than welcome to bring it out as well. But I know that you're a 23-time award-winning entrepreneur. You're a consultant, a philanthropist. You've empowered hundreds of thousands of agents and advisors in over 51 countries to grow their own practices. You're a TED speaker, which is pretty impressive. Amazon #1 bestseller. You've done all kinds of stuff. Your podcast is ranked in the top 50 on a consistent basis. You've shared the stage with Tony Robbins, I can't never say Robert Kosowski's name right. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what I say. Jay Abraham as well. And coming up in Nashville, you're going to be sharing the stage with Liam. How awesome is that? I mean, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like the story about, Ken Griffey Jr. I played in a tournament with him, right? And his team won. We didn't, so we didn't get him in the finals. He never mentioned that in the Hall of Fame speech. I mention it all the time. But anyway, all right. So, Jeremiah, you also the founder and CEO of BabeRuthBucketSystemForAgents. Is that how you say that?
Yep,
okay.
You got it.
And you've done well over 62 million leads and over 300 million in fees and commissions. There's so many things that you've done. This thing just goes on and on and on. It is overly impressive. It is an honor not only to have met you in Puerto Rico, which was really nice, and that mastermind was awesome, but it was also nice to be able to chat with you when the cameras were off. You're a genuine guy. You're real, and I think people need to know that, because there's a lot of guys that are in your position that a lot of guys don't know how to talk to. And I say, well, how do you get these guys? How do you meet these guys? And I say, well, I call it's on the shoulders of giants, right? You can't be afraid of that. You got to be willing. But you also got to have the guys in your position that are willing to reach back and help somebody. Yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a biblical principle too. I tell people I never look back unless I'm picking somebody up, and I think that's what you guys are great at. You and Tom are a great partnership, and just to be included in the same sentence is exciting for me. But I'm going to have you start. You said you might have some slides for us today and some cool stuff, and then I'm going to jump in with some questions and try to keep this thing flowing. But the floor is yours, Jeremiah. If I missed anything, the only thing I didn't see in here, and it's probably because I didn't take the time I should have. Tell us a little bit about, you got to have a family. You can't be that good looking and not have a wife and kids.
Well, thank you for that warm intro. I appreciate it, Bill. You're quite a host. So yes, I'm married to my best friend of 15 years. Her name's Anais. Her and I met, funny enough, in my parents' kitchen when I was coming back from Chicago to Montreal to visit my parents, and there she was. And I wasn't quite ready to marry her yet, but I had fallen in love the moment I saw her. But I wasn't financially stable enough. I knew I didn't have what it took to be a good husband at the time. So I kind of hung back for 5 years. We just stayed friends. I always, had a thought, hopefully she won't be taken by the time I'm ready. So I remember 5 years later, I asked her out, and 6 days into the dating, I knew that I was going to marry her, and we just celebrated 15 years this past April. So thanks for asking about that. And no, we don't have any kids yet. Our kid is 5 pounds, lots of fur. It's our dog, and he's been with us all over the world as we travel.
And they never leave. Not like kids; they stay around forever. I've got 4 of them. I know what you're talking about. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes, because I know a lot of people are excited. Not only are we going to be in Nashville together coming up, I think you told me the dates looks like July 25th and 26th. We're going to be promoting a lot of that. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into it. But let's find out today what you have for everybody, and let's start with that.
Yeah. So, prior to coming here, you had asked me to bring up a few things that are working right now for advisors on the front lines, right? And I think what we'll do today is we'll talk about the free stuff that works, that still works today, surprisingly, the paid methods that work, and then we can talk about pros and cons of branding and so forth. So, just to give you context, I've had the privilege of helping 100,000 advisors and being in tons of their businesses, doing thousands of one-on-one calls with financial advisors who are both, just getting started to all the way at the top of their game, who are the top producers that you see walking the stage at all of the award ceremonies and so forth. And so I've been really privileged to learn a lot from them and also share those insights. So what I hope to do, Bill, for your audience is share from the front lines what's working, what's not, so that hopefully when you walk out of here today, however you're enjoying this class, you'll be able to do some takeaways, start implementing things right away. How does that sound?
A lot of this, like when you mentioned free, that I tell people that what you're really saying is cost effective. So,
yeah, that's a good point. So let me talk a little bit about free versus time, right? So you're always going to pay in order to meet prospects. You're either going to pay with money, meaning you could buy leads, you could start building funnels and hiring that out and buying traffic, or you're going to pay with your time. And I think that's one of the first principles we have to understand is, unfortunately, there's a subset of financial planners that are shiny object chasers, where it's they pounce on an idea. If it doesn't work right away, then the idea sucks and it's horrible and I'm going to leave, right? And I'm going to jump to the next thing. But I would say that the advisors who focus on one discipline of top of funnel activity, which basically means how do I get people into my funnel or into my world, into my ecosystem, and they stay with it for 6 to 12 months, inevitably are the ones that always succeed. But the ones that jump around and they're always hopping to one podcast to another webinar and, oh, this might be the thing, and they never give anything, it's true time in court, don't ever really work out. So I'm sure there's none of those people listening to this interview today, but I thought it's good to start with a few grounding principles in order to help us all out.
Well, you know what the sad thing is, in the reverse of that, is that when it does work, I've seen it in the 30 years that I've been doing this. Somebody will be doing something and it's really working, and they stop. And it's like, well, why did you quit? Keep doing why would you do that? Oh, I wanted to try. And even though they may have worked it for 3 or 4 years, for whatever reason, they get some kind of, they go out on a whim and they quit. So it works both sides, right? So sometimes they just keep bouncing, and then sometimes when they finally get it figured out, they don't know why it's not working, or they're doing something else. You know what I mean? Same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with a few things that are working right now. Actually, I was going to start with LinkedIn, but I have a better idea. I'm going to start with email. So probably everybody watching this class right now has access to email. You probably got on this class because of email, or maybe somebody DM'd you on Facebook. But one of the most overlooked areas that you can have success is email. And we'll start with the leads that you've already talked to in the past. So probably every single one of us has a small database. You could be using Constant Contact. Maybe they're still in an Excel sheet. Maybe you're using Wealthbox or Redtail. That's more for RIAs. You've got leads in there that know who you are, that maybe came to a presentation, a seminar, they downloaded an ebook, you met them at networking, maybe they've been on your newsletter for a while. I'm going to give you the 9-word email that comes from another industry, actually, and we imported it into this industry when I wrote my first book for financial planners, and I've gotten more love and fan mail on this one idea than I've gotten on anything else, Bill. So I'm going to share it with your listeners today, because I think it could actually shake the tree and put leads in people's inbox starting today. So it's very, very simple. So you start off with the subject line is the person's first name. So for example, if I'm writing to you, Liam/Bill, I'll put Liam or Bill in the front in the subject line. And then inside the email, the only thing I'm going to put is their name again. So Bill, and then the one line email basically says, do you still need help with, and then whatever discipline that I'm doing, right? Life insurance, financial services, retirement, your annuity. Do you still need help with life insurance? Or do you still need help with your financial plan? Or do you still need help with your long-term care? whatever it is that you talk to them about in the past, that is an amazing, what I call shake the tree email. And then you sign off just your name. That's it. Or whatever your regular signature line is. It should look like it came from you sitting at your desk, or even better, on your phone, like you just fired off an email. You don't want to load this into something like Constant Contact, where at the bottom it has that little sent by Constant Contact. That's a dead giveaway that that you basically loaded all these emails and you sent it all out, and that is not going to work for you. One good tool that you can use for that is Mailshake, because it can send it as if it just looks straight out of your Gmail account. Gmass is another great tool you could use, which is a free plugin. Who doesn't like free? Which you can use in conjunction with Gmail. And basically you upload to a Google Sheet, and then basically it does a form merge so that it just automatically populates. This is great if you got like a couple hundred names and you don't want to sit there and do it one by one. So that would be one idea if you're going to shake the tree of your list that is older than, I would say, 90 days, okay? A couple of quick stories on that. One advisor watched me give a keynote speech in Dallas, and while I was speaking, he was doing it. I got an email from him the next day, and he said that one email was worth $14,000. He sent it only to 10 people. He did it separately while he was watching me. And he got back 3 no's, which is exactly what you want. And then he got 4 yeses, 2 referrals, and 1 person was already going to be submitting into underwriting. And he said just based on that, it was worth $14,000 to send that 1 email. I had another woman who is more in the commercial lines and group benefit space, and they had 9 clients that were on the fence. She sent this out. One of them replied back. That was worth $249,000 to her. And I have just tons of other success stories, and you can go to my LinkedIn page. You can see all of them. But that would be a great shake the tree email. The other email.
No, go ahead. I'll jump there in a second, but go ahead. You just got a thought that came through. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's one more email you can use. Now, this is great for people that were at the end of the sales cycle with you. So let's say you met with them, you had your first meeting, you had your second meeting, maybe even they had the spouse on the second and third, and then they stopped replying to you, right? I don't think you've ever had that problem, Liam. You're probably a very effective salesperson. But I think we've all had that struggle where they get all the way through the process and then nothing, right? Crickets. Well, if somebody ghosts you, here's the email for ghosts, right? All right, so jot this down. The subject line is radio silent. Okay, that's literally what it is. And by the way, the best subject lines are lowercase. Do you know why? Because they look like they're written by a human and not a marketer. So instead of writing radio silent with capital R, which looks more formal, you want to try to get your emails to the only objective that you want is start a conversation, right? That's the only objective you want of an email, is to get them to reply and start. And you don't really need to care whether it's a yes or a no. You just want them to get off the fence, right? So you can move on to the next person. So subject line is radio silent. Inside the body of the message, I'd say, Bill, you went radio silent on me there. So it looks like you went radio silent on me there. Do you still want to discuss this, or back burner? And then your name. That's it. Nothing else. The only thing I could add to that would be you could take the last email that you sent, which most of us send like a recap email after maybe our second or third call, which basically, shows them where to apply or what the next step is, or, just maybe you attached a PDF. Go back to that email and then send that one again. And all you do is you just change the subject line, you change the body, and then below it is the recap. So this way they have all the information there and they remember, oh yeah, he's the person that I met with, or she's the person I met with. So that's a very effective email to get people to say yes or no. Last trick I'll teach you is on that side of the house for follow-ups has to do with texting. 97% of people will check their cell phone within 3 minutes versus 21% of people will open their email ever. So you have a 97% chance of getting somebody's attention through texting versus a 21% chance of getting their attention through email. So one thing I would teach my sales teams and the people that have gone through my sales mastery programs for financial advisors and insurance planners is using texting. And I have a whole formula on different methods and methodologies for texting, but it is such an effective way that I want to give you this extra tip. You can use the radio silent concept on texting as well. hey, you went radio silent there. Do you still want to discuss this or back burner? One thing on the psychology of saying back burner, instead of coming across desperate, giving people the option to back out actually gives you more power. We're all familiar with the takeaway, right? And that's basically what it does. It's very subtle without making it seem like you're a jerk or you're arrogant or you're too proud, which are techniques that kind of sales bros have developed in the information marketing space. A lot of them have come into the insurance space, and the guys who take selfies with their Lambos and all that kind of stuff. That's not what's going to add massive passive income as a financial planner. So just be very careful of the techniques you choose to adopt. You always want to treat people with respect. You always want to treat people like they're a future family member. That's at least how we treat everybody. And we found that, there's tens of millions of reasons why that works really well. So the psychology of that is basically a small takeaway. If you come across as desperate or you really need the sale, that's exactly how you're going to smell. You're going to have sales breath on you. And this slight little takeaway, hey, looks like you went radio silent for a little bit there. Do you still want to discuss this or back burner? Basically gives you a neutral stance. It's like, hey, I'm good whether you want to move forward or whether you don't want to move forward. So that would be a very good text message. And then here's another little trick is if you send that message in the morning, like let's say 11 a.m., and you don't hear back from them by 5:30, here is the single most powerful follow-up text you could ever send. Are you ready for it? It's pretty simple. Question mark. That's it. Just the question mark. Sending a small question mark right after, actually at the end of the day of a text message will get you at least 50% replies, if not 80%. I've had myself, I usually get about a 90% reply to that one. I actually just did it with the director of a large foundation that we're going to be doing some big programs with, raising millions of dollars. I texted her something about her board. I didn't hear back from her. I sent her the question mark at the end of the day. Boom, I got a reply within 10 minutes. So those are some neat little tricks that you could use. Again, those are just, we call those tactics because they work in different time periods. Like if you were to take the radio silent email, or you were to take the one-line email and just keep doing it over and over, it's not going to work. You need to have a core strategy that you overlay all of that onto, so that you have something that you're constantly bringing in. But I thought for your listeners, let's just give them some quick wins. Hopefully some of you are actually doing that while we're doing this class, so you can actually start doing it right now. So I think you had a thought you wanted to share.
Everybody better be taking notes. I take notes all the time. So not for any other reason than I like to try to remember some of the key points, and the question mark is powerful. But before we get into the paid leads, I want to give them a little nugget as well, because I like them to think that I got a little value. And so one of the nuggets that I would give them is that when I first started out in the business, I had tickler files. I mean, I still do paper stuff, right? I'm not a computer guy, so I still, if I could turn the camera and I got a big, huge filing cabinet with 3,500 clients in it right behind the thing here that I've amassed over the years. But one of the things that they can do that I think would fit perfectly into that program, and I still do this today. One of the groups that we use, Swazi's one of our connectors, and they do a lot of leads for people, and they're on our page, and they're available for you guys. But I'm not trying to plug them, but what I did with him, when I asked him, I said, what happens to the leads that like there's one guy that's doing really, really good, but he only goes after the hot leads. He doesn't, the ones that are 3 or 4, he just lets them go. I should give those to me, and I will put them in what I call a dead file, right? And so I dead file a ton of stuff that people, I have agents all the time. How many leads did you get on that thing you bought? I got 45. How many of them did you not use? 36. Give me those 36. I'll take care of them, right? And so what I do is, it's real similar to what you're doing. I keep, I put them on an email schedule or something like that. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, a lot of guys might be listening to me and you and saying, where do I get those names? Well, do that. I mean, to set you up. Some people just don't buy today. Doesn't mean they're not going to buy in 6 months, right? And so I love the dead file. I probably made 6 figures just on my dead file every year because I didn't give up on those people, right? I mean, sometimes people have certain circumstances, certain situations. That's fine. But what you're doing, and I think what they if they're listening, not everything is not a permanent no, right? It might be no today, but it probably may not be if you just stay with them. And I like the question mark. I like those things. And so if you have somebody that waste a ton of money on leads and they don't use them all, tell them to give them to you. And then you can do that kind of stuff. But let's get into the paid methods, because I know there's some other ideas that you have out there, like, doctor marketing and webinar marketing. I know a lot of people always say to me, because I tell them all the time, Jeremiah, that I've got my dentist, my doctor. Matter of fact, next week I'm doing a lunch with my dentist and all his new hygienists. There's like 10 of them, so they're all getting a free book, and I'm buying their lunch, and I'm going to get a photo op, and that'll be out on the page. I did that with my heart doctor, right? I did the same thing with him, and so when you're looking at doctor marketing and webinar marketing and all that kind of stuff, kind of give them the idea, and we have that under the paid method. So show them how that works.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to share here, if I may, because this is actually a good transition point, Bill, for paid and free. I want to show you guys something really cool. This is something that is still, for some reason, is not on a lot of people's radars. So you should see Sales Navigator. Do you see that on my screen right there, Bill?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So folks, I want to just give you a couple of quick tips for Sales Navigator, which is the upgraded feature of LinkedIn. Now, in my world, I've probably created more success stories out of this one strategy than probably all my other strategies. And that's why we still teach it to this day. We've been teaching LinkedIn marketing for, wow, probably 10 years now. And we've helped hundreds of advisors succeed by developing true organic relationships on LinkedIn, but also leveraging technology to be able to do it at scale. Don't believe the hype out there where people tell you that, oh, if you use automation on LinkedIn, you're going to end up in jail, or it's just not genuine. That's just another marketing angle that people who only teach one-to-one strategies use in order to get you not to scale your business. So and I've seen them all. So what we're going to share with you here is about 1,000 students' successes, 300 documented success stories, over 100,000 connections made, and I think our last count, we're averaging about 10,000 appointments a month are being generated with this strategy. So what I'm going to show you, so you have a free LinkedIn, right? You've got free LinkedIn here where you can see here, this is live. And then you've got paid LinkedIn. And paid LinkedIn is where the serious players hang out. $79 a month, you can upgrade. I've already gone ahead and done a couple of searches because one of the most overlooked categories of individuals that you can prospect on LinkedIn and create really great networking partnerships with is small business owners. A lot of people think that is an oversaturated market, but every single day, my clients prove all of them wrong. And our coaches prove all of them wrong. And it's simply because people think it's saturated, or they went to a seminar and somebody said it. You just got to do your own investigation, your own homework. But here are the features. So I used to live in Chicago for about 20 years, so I chose Chicago as a city. But here's a couple of key features. 50 to 500 employees is very good. You can use various titles like Chief Executive Officer, President, Owner. Also, this is a very important strategy when you're doing a search for small business owners, is to exclude competitors. So you can remove financial services, remove insurance, remove people that are insurance agencies. And the way to do that is, let's say I was going to do financial again. Let's see if there's another category here. No, I blew that category out. So I would do insurance, employee benefits, and I hit exclude. And then what will happen is it will include them as an exclusion, so it'll take out everybody that's there. The other one is obviously second and third degrees. So these are people that we are not personally connected to, but maybe connected through one of my first level connections. And then I get a result of about 8,000. Now, ideally, you actually want to be a little bit less. So let's say we're going to go a little bit smaller. You want to be at around 2,000 for a campaign. Now, as part of our LinkedIn for FAs program, or LinkedIn for Financial Advisors, we have a software that we built that helps advisors to scale this in a compliant way, meaning all of your conversations are categorized, all of your conversations are captured and recorded, and we don't use posting strategy. So some people out there basically study what other industries do, and then they bring it over here into our industry thinking that it works. But we don't teach, go out and start posting content, because you're going to be doing that for a long time. And that's a step 2 strategy. We actually have a course that teaches that on how to go viral, guaranteed on LinkedIn. But it's very important to first have the audience that you want to go viral to. And that's why we do this as a phase one thing. So what's very exciting about LinkedIn is that, for example, I've got these 6,000 CEOs here. I could actually go a little smaller, but for the purposes of training today, we'll just keep moving. What's really cool is that we can create campaigns that will allow us to ask for a connection request about 100 times every single day. Now, the average male advisor will get about 21% acceptance. The females will get about 35%. It's just how it works. The majority of this target audience are male. They're going to respond better to a female. But we've had some males that will get up to 67% using a very simple outreach technique. Here's what it is. Instead of leading with a pitch when you go for a connection, like over here, you have the opportunity to connect with the person and you could put a little message in there. It's best to keep the message neutral and non-salesy. Something like, hey, I noticed we both do business in Chicago and we're both graduates of Northwestern, or I'm a Northwestern alumni. I thought it wouldn't hurt to connect. That simple technique gets over 62% acceptance rate, which blows so many others out of the water. The other thing, and then by doing that and then automating the outreach, you can have a sequence of messages go out on your behalf to slowly grow your network. And then eventually by day 90, 60, 90, you not only have people replying to your emails, to your in messages that want to meet with you, but you'll also be able to have building a database. And on average, we see each advisor builds a database at about a rate of right about maybe 300 to 400 new prospects, warm leads every single month. Now you think about that, right? Most advisors today, if we were to do a poll and this was a live audience, we could probably say most advisors have anywhere from 300 to 700 people in their database right now. Can you imagine doubling your database in 30 days? That's exactly what this allows you to do. And that leads to the other strategy, which is database marketing. Because if you have, I believe the gold's in the list, always, right? My lists have made me tens of millions of dollars. And anybody that has a list that's worth any salt is where you're going to get your next prospects. It's where the highest value is, because you can just keep adding value to them. So that I thought would be a good transition. And the reason I thought it'd be a good transition, because it's almost free, right? It's $80 a month. You can do that. You can hop into our program if you guys like and learn more about it. And you could use the software, so you might pay a couple hundred bucks a month in order to automate all of this. But that's really one of the most powerful strategies that I know of. Here's another very cool technique that you could use. Now, this works great for targeting HR folks. If you want to target employees at companies, if you want to target people who are business owners, you want to talk about tax-free retirement. This is a fantastic technique. You can see I got 1,567 people to come to this event. And LinkedIn allows you to do webinars right onto LinkedIn. So you can actually do them on Zoom and then cast them here. And they're called LinkedIn events. And nobody uses this technique, okay? So this is a kind of a blue ocean strategy. If you are good at doing seminars or webinars, you can set up an event where you can then invite in a very, probably in about 10 minutes, like I have a network of 30,000. So it takes, I just have a virtual assistant who sends all the invites, takes him about 15 minutes. But if you have a small, maybe 1,000, 2,000 people, you could basically invite them all to your event in about 5 minutes. Because once you set up an event, it says, do you want to invite your connections? And you just select yes, and you just keep going, and you can invite everybody to your event. Now, what's very cool is that as they will register to go to your event, it will go viral, because it then shows up in the alerts that, oh, if Liam says he's going to go to my event, then it's going to show up in my notifications. Liam just accepted to attend this event. And guess what I just got? I just got 1,600 free leads. How amazing is that, right? And then what do? I take those leads, I can message them one-on-one, I can extract them out of the LinkedIn event, I can nurture them, I can upload them as an audience, I can do all kinds of things with these individuals, and I can have my team follow up. What did you think about the event? Oh, did you hear? Oh, you missed it? Would you like to see the replay? I'd be happy to send it to you. This is a 7-figure strategy that nobody's doing as well. So I thought we got to share this strategy.
And here's the thing, Jeremiah. I've been telling people there's other outlets besides Facebook, right? And if you do that with Facebook, sometimes they'll suspend you because your outreach to too many people, or that, which is a bunch of baloney. But I like the fact that you brought that up, because I tell people there's a lot of other ways and sources that you could be using at low cost. And I think LinkedIn's a very good source. I mean, and like you said, in a matter of time, you can get a lot of followers, a lot of group. But I love that idea that you just shared because I don't think a lot of people, like you said, not only don't know about it, but if you don't know about it, obviously you can't use it. Yes, do the paid methods with the now. Did I do the doctor marketing right, or was I off? Was that something else?
Yeah, no, let's talk about that. So we actually there's an amazing advisor who has cracked the code on how to go into any city in the US or Canada and basically scoop up 15% of the doctors in 60 days. And he's done it over and over again. And we created an exclusive partnership to teach advisors his same methodology. And it's very unique what he does. He uses a combination of webinar marketing together with seminar marketing. So there is a cost to that, right? Because either you're going to get people to a live event or you're going to get them to a webinar event. You got to pay. In this case, you're not going to pay with time. You're just going to drop cash in. But the psychology all starts with the invitation, and the invitation is high end. It feels exclusive. It doesn't feel cheesy. It's not the regular events that a lot of seminar marketers do. He does pay for food, which is really interesting because there's a whole school of advisors that say, I'm not paying for food. But the way that he does it is he has people call into a line. You can't actually do it over the internet. You must call in to reserve. And what happens is in that booking process, they create a level of exclusivity. So, for example, there's always a limited amount of spots, which is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, one of the most powerful drivers to get people to take action. And also, if somebody will not bring their significant other, they're not allowed to come. And he basically does the takeaway on them. And if they cannot confirm they'll be there, he takes it away again. He says, well, this is only for those that are serious about looking at tax-free retirement or whatever the hook is for that specific event. And then there's a whole structure for the way to structure the event where you're basically pre-selling them and telling them upfront what's going to happen, which is very different, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, I don't want to sell anybody. I'm just altruist. I'm just pure education. It's pure education. It's pure education. That's fantastic. But you know what? A lot of people just hide behind that because they don't want to develop any psychology to their process, which actually motivates people. So he gets an extremely high percentage of doctors to then book a triage call, triage using the language that are familiar to doctors. And then he goes into his sales process. Do you know something, Liam, that for every person he starts the process, he charges $3,000 to $5,000 upfront, right? And then he'll make at least $40,000 to $50,000 on every single doctor that he closes. And he uses everything that everyone in this line uses, a combination of life insurance, annuities, but he doesn't do any AUM. He just passes that off. So if you do life insurance and annuities and you're trying to go up market, even if you've never marketed to doctors before, it is a phenomenal program. And if you want to learn more about that, you can just come to some of our free events that we do. And right now the program is closed. We're not accepting anybody, so I'm not here to pitch it, but it's such a cool program. It's getting such amazing results. And we're just really excited about that.
One of the things that you touched on, that's all I've ever done, seminar selling, because I'd rather in 2 days, I could see 80 people versus take me months to see them if I wasn't doing seminars. But one of the things that I teach when I teach people how to do them is the same thing. We call it pre-qualifying, right? They would say, well, we got 45 cards. What are you doing? I said, I'd rather have 12 buyers in the room instead of 45 plate lickers, right? And that's exactly what, it's old school what I'm doing, but it's the same thing you're saying. It's just in a modern way, right? So what he's doing is he's doing the same thing, but he's trying to get himself in a position where, and these are big time buyers, so you want to get buyers. You don't want to get people that are just going to come in there and they want your book and I don't have time for that. And I would always tell them on the phone, listen, I'm not going to waste your time and you're not going to waste my time. No feelings hurt. You just don't need to come to my event, right? And so that's how we train. So it's the same system, and I think it's a unique way of like I tell people, you don't reinvent the wheel, but that that does the same thing, right? It's just a different way of doing it, and I think that's a great way to present that. So if we're looking into and when you say doctor, that fits every mold, dentist, whatever. I was talking to a doctor one time. He said, why don't you write a book called MD? And I said, what are you talking about? Financial book, MD? He said, yeah, you give me money dumb because MDs don't know anything about money, right? I said, there's a great idea. Maybe we'll write a book about it. Somebody listening will probably grab that. So what do most advisors get wrong, Jeremiah, as we flip brand or they're looking into a different kind of marketing? What do they get wrong?
Yeah, I see a lot of advisors, once they start making a bit of money, they start looking at the exterior. They start looking at their website. They start looking at the way they dress. And it's all about, they invest tens of thousands of dollars in a personal brand. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We've invested in branding. You could see my backdrop as well. And we like everybody to have a professional headshot and so forth. But the big misunderstanding I think that most people have is that if I have a great brand, it's going to bring a lot of great clients. And that's not true. That's the message that branding experts will give you, that you have to have this brand. And a lot of them look up to, actually, there's an interesting report done by Advertising Age, which studies the psychology of marketing and advertising, and said that for the first time in history, business authorities or business celebrities are more respected and trusted than politicians and religious leaders. So think of people like Prophet, Damon John, the sharks of Shark Tank, Elon Musk, whoever it is that you like. These people are looked up to a lot more. And so when people see that lens of society, and then they look up at them, they say, those people have a great brand. I want to have a great brand. So people are attracted. And I've seen, sadly, advisors spend tens of thousands of dollars on a very fancy website and a very, like a makeover and all this kind of thing, which is great. And it's fine for what it does, but it doesn't have a direct correlation to client growth. Usually what happens is you have the psychology of, I spent a lot of money and I don't want to have the regret. Therefore, I will convince myself that it actually worked. But when you look at the data, it actually did not work. So what works better than branding is free value to your target audience. And I'm going to share publicly a secret that is not too secret, but I'm kind of going to pull the kimono back and show you something that I do every single week absolutely free. And this has been worth millions of dollars to me in this industry. And I basically will host an event every single Wednesday for free that I don't charge for, that I absolutely give away some of my best work. And it's called the Power Hour. And it's a master class where we don't sell anything, every Wednesday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. I've shown up for 200 plus episodes without stopping, without missing an episode. I bring on amazing guests. We give away great training. And because people have been accustomed to seeing us do this for free, they ask themselves, oh my goodness, I wonder what the paid stuff is like, our paid coaching and mentorship. And what's so fascinating? Now, you were in that room with me when we had a special guest who actually was doing the same thing. He was doing his own power hours on YouTube since the pandemic. And this is a fascinating story. Please take notes. Please study what he's doing. His name is Mark Bialik. He's a certified financial planner at Attleboro Wealth Management. And during the pandemic, he was kind of trying to figure out, what should I be doing? Well, you know what he started doing? He started doing a Tuesday weekly webinar. And you can go all the way back to see his webinars, and he's not proud of them all because they started kind of rough. But look how simple these are, right? He has a Surface Pro. He has a little backdrop that you could pay for like $50 with a black curtain. He's got a mic I think that's a Shure mic, maybe $300. And that's basically it. Do you know we did the data with him? He was actually a guest, and he was in our mastermind with you. And he revealed that every single free webinar he did, when he compared that to the clients he got, was worth $6,200 every single webinar. He did it for free. And look at him. He doesn't have a huge list, right? He's got 650 subscribers. He's only done about 200 videos, which is actually not a lot. And look at the small views, 49 views, 110, 105, 193, 247 is the highest he's gotten. So this is a huge, huge learning lesson, because this is not popular in our industry, right? Most people are like, let me buy leads, and if they don't buy, I'm moving on. But if you are not showing up and adding value to your audience every single week, you are missing out. And all of us could go out there and scoop up a bunch of business just by showing up. And even you're such an example too, Liam. Like, you're showing up, you're in your group, you're adding value, you're bringing on speakers, you're doing the exact same thing. So I hope people follow your lead and start taking care of their list, because I'll tell you something, guys, if you don't take care of your list, somebody else will. And that somebody will deserve to take the business away from you because they've put money into the relationship account. Your list is like a bank account, right? If you're not making deposits to it constantly, other people are going to be pulling out of it. And when you go to your list and you're going to try different techniques, or you might try newsletters and they don't work, it's because you haven't done enough to educate your audience. You don't have anything in your account to pull from. So be sure that you're always sharing value, you're always adding value, and you will start to attract a tribe that is uniquely your own, and you'll be surrounded by the kind of people that will love your kind of
Well, and
personality.
one of the things I tell you, I make a joke about being a dinosaur, even though I started young in the business, but I was in the business 30 years. I'm 57, but I started it when I was in my early 20s. So I tell everybody that, some of the stuff that I learned from the old dinosaurs still works today. And one of them was, Ben Feldman was one of my idols, right? And I won the very last contest he ever had at New York Life. And I tell Tom Hegna, Tom's going through and looking, because Tom used to work for New York Life. I try to find that. I got it on my wall. I can show it to you. I got the $1 million the bill, that we did. But here's why I bring up Ben Feldman. Ben Feldman lisped, and he was a milk salesman, right? You never would have thought this guy was one of the greatest giants of our industry, right? He lived in Youngstown, Ohio, where the steel all left, and there was no money there. It was poverty city, and he was probably the most wealthiest insurance agent for a long time until Sam Friedman came along with New York Life. But I tell that story because I want people to understand something. Don't give me this baloney where you say, "Well, I don't have enough leads." I'll have, like you just made a great example. Take that 600 and look what he's doing with it. He's doing it all the time. And then I had another agent that did the same seminar, the same location for 20 years in a town of 4,000 people. And he always constantly was making
Wow.
the table. He was constantly, and I tell people, you can make all the excuses in the world. Like, my brand, the exception to the rule, there's plenty of explanation in life, but no excuses. So which one are you going to be, right? You want to make explanations and excuses, or you want to be the exception to the rule? And I think that's what we're trying to get people to understand here. And I think that you're hitting on some really good things. And as we close up a little bit closer to getting finished here, let's talk about some of the things that, and I'm a huge fan of the masterminds. And people always ask me that, they're really worth going to. And I know when I came to your guys' in Puerto Rico, my wife won't go to Iowa, but she'll go to Puerto Rico, or she'll go to Hawaii. She wants to go to Nashville. I mean, she'll go to those, but I don't care where they're at. I like to go because one of the things I learned in your guys' that was really, really awesome was that you give everybody that's there an opportunity to participate, right? It's not just listen to Jeremiah, listen to Tom Hagner, listen to Liam. It's everybody in the
Mhm.
room gets to share a little bit about what they're doing. And what was great about the one we went to in Puerto Rico was everybody had a different idea. I still have on my desk, I've got the book sitting here somewhere. I still have it, and I've been reaching out to the guys. I still have the book you guys gave us, and I got all the stuff in here, with all these guys' notes and stuff. Everybody that talked, and I try to reach out to them when I can. And I'm working on getting the guy that did the movie theater thing. That was a pretty cool idea, right? Where you rent a movie theater and they show
Mhm.
that movie. I don't know the name of it. You might remember it. I know Tom knows it, but the point is that even if you're somebody that needs to scale, you're going to get something. If you're somebody that's already scaling, you're going to get something, right? And I think it's a great fit for people that think I don't belong there. Baloney. And here's what I like about masterminds. And I'm gonna let you go here and get into it. If you're not spending money on yourself, then you're hurting your clients. I honestly believe that. If you're not investing in you, then you're not investing in your clients. And I think by going to these things and listening to these ideas, it's not just about marketing and all this, but you're finding out what kind of product should I be pushing. Like our best webinar this year, you may not believe this. I know Tom would say it was him. It was close, but the best one that we did this year was whole life versus IUL. And I couldn't believe it. I thought everybody knew that the whole life was a valuable thing you could sell to people, especially people that want a steady premium. And I couldn't believe how many agents didn't even know the difference between the two, right? And that thing has gotten several thousand plays, and I'm bringing Rick Benight back, and he's going to talk some more about it. But I couldn't believe it. I thought the Roth conversion was going to be big. That's been our biggest show so far. And so touch on why the master classes are well and good. And like I said, you might be like me. Sometimes you get surprised on which topic people really enjoy. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great that you're doing that. And you just have to keep testing out content is what I learned. And you you might be surprised what people respond to. So thanks for bringing up the Nashville Mastermind. If you guys are okay with it, I'll just I'll do a little promo here for that. So this is going to be our third event, Tom Hegna and I, and we do a very unique feature. So this is coming up in Nashville. You can see on my screen here. It's a 2-day event. And we do something very different than most masterminds where this is actually not about Tom Hegna and myself. We are there as your facilitator. We are there to help you with having $1 million breakthroughs, and we don't hold anything back. But we also ask something of all of our attendees. You can see some of the past attendees. There's our good friend Liam. There you are, buddy. Every one of these producers is going to do 2 things at this mastermind. They're going to share something that isn't working. And the reason we do that is so we can all help them have a breakthrough, right? Because all of us is better than one of us. And then the second thing that everybody's prepared to do is have a presentation on what's the best working strategy for business growth right now. So instead of getting one perspective from one speaker at one event, you get 10 perspectives from all these different successful advisors. There's Mark who had taught us about his webinar strategy. Mike had a different strategy. He was actually doing paid traffic, but was getting traffic at such a low cost, you wouldn't believe it. And he used the technique of on-demand and live webinars. You got John Durbano, who's made $300,000 in commissions on whole life products just from TikTok. And he kind of went into this whole model. Raphael was sharing with us how he's buying agencies for pennies on the dollar and then going through their businesses and making huge ROIs. I mean, these are just some of the nuggets. And most of these people had never been to a mastermind before. This gentleman here, Dave, said, I had never been to a mastermind. I didn't even know what to expect. I'm kind of an introvert. I like to stay at home. But, I said, I have to start investing in myself. So he came and he said, and he took pages and pages of notes. He thinks his business is going to explode. There's people at all walks of life here, people who are just getting started their first 3 to 5 years. People have been doing this for 30 years. And so if you'd like to attend, there is an application process. You just got to go to tomhegna.com/mastermind. That's tomhegna.com/mastermind. Pick the Nashville option because that's the only one that's open right now. You can start a brief application. We just want to make sure you're a good fit to be in the room with us, meaning that you're okay to be vulnerable and you're also okay to openly share what's working. And these are just some 7-figure breakthroughs we have advisors having. And we're so grateful, Liam, that you were a part of it and that you invited Tom and I on your show to be able to spread the good word about it as well.
And we're going to be doing a lot of that. When this gets all put together, Zach will be putting stuff on the ticker, telling them where to go, how to get signed up. We'll be pushing a lot of this. Hopefully, maybe if Tom will agree to it. He's like me. I played golf this morning. I played 36 rounds this morning. So I know you're wondering. I shot 43, 40, 40, and a 35. Just letting you know. But anyway, had a real good day. Best day I've had in a long time. Normally it's a lot worse than that. But one of the things that I want people to know, and hopefully we can do this, maybe we can get me, you, and Tom on here, and we're going to be promoting the national thing quite a bit. And then when they do get filled, when you guys go to the site, it tells you where the rest of them are at, because there's more coming. And then one of the things I know we've talked about doing is some power summits, some power hours, some other things like that. And maybe touch on that a little bit too. And then I know you've got to get out of here because you got to go play golf. You play golf, Jeremiah? Because if you don't,
I don't, but I'm actually have a client that's waiting in my other waiting room, so I'm going to be very brief here. But for those that are interested in ongoing free education in a fun, supportive environment, we do the weekly shows. We got 7,000 advisors signed up for those. It's you could go to virtualadvisorph.com, virtualadvisorph.com. You can sign up there. You'll get our alerts. We have a new topic every single Wednesday at noon Eastern. There's no charge for that. We don't do any selling or pitching. Every once in a while, we might have a product to offer, but it's few and far between. The main focus is elevating this industry so we can help more people become financially free. I'm so grateful to you, Liam. You're doing an amazing job here. Thanks for your leadership in our community. Thank you for bringing myself on, for having Tom and I supporting the cause. We're really grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
You guys have been a blessing to me, and I know that I know that we got a lot more to do, and it's so neat to see that we're not the only group that's doing this. The Babe Ruth Bucket System for Agents is really cool. And what you're doing is great. I try my best to people say, aren't these guys your competitors? I go, nah, there's so much out there for everybody, and you got to learn to rub elbows with people that that maybe you think that are different. But you guys, the great thing I can say about you two, and I work with a lot of big names, is you guys are really genuine, and I mean that. I would tell people they're a little bit up here, you might not like, but you guys are not that way. You guys, I mean, not to me, you haven't been, and I think you guys that says a lot about you, and it says a lot about what you're trying to do, right? And I like how you said it earlier. If you're a 2 or 3 year guy, don't not come, right? And if you're a guy that's been in the business for a long time, it fits. It's great to be able to co-mingle with those guys because we need people behind us to keep this industry going. Yes. And so